School District Board of Trustees Business Support Service Committee meeting. It's Thursday, February the 10th, 2022. It's 5:32 at the Amber Year Boardroom. Roll call, somebody over there?
Me. Mr. Hector J. Garcia,
I am present.
Mr. Hector J. Noyola,
Absent.
Ms. Monica Garcia,
Absent.
Dr. Minta Ramirez, I'm present, Mr. Jose Valdez,
Absent.
Mr. Guadalupe Gomez,
Present.
and Mr. Ricardo Garza.
Absent. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Ayala?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dr. Rios, number one.
Item number 1, discussion and presentation to ratify the monthly disbursements for December 2021 at the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, February 2022. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Madam Superintendent. Good evening, members of the board. The total cash disbursements were recorded in the amount of $24.8 million, of which $15.2 million were used for the payment of payroll costs and $9.5 for the payment of goods and services. May I proceed? Item number 2.
We're gonna table all number 2.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, discussion and presentation on the following budget amendments. Item 3A, BA 2122-30, discussion and presentation to approve the general operating fund budget amendment in the amount of $31,781 as a result of transfers between functional expenditure categories. Item 3B, 2122-31, this is to approve the general operating fund and capital projects fund budget amendment in the amount of $300,000 to fund the technology needs of the Instructional Technology District Training Center. Item 3C, BA 2122-32, this is to approve the general operating fund in the amount of $500,000 from Mariachi and Orchestra supplies to purchase mariachi uniforms, concert wear uniforms, and other uniforms. Item 3D, BA 2122-33, discussion and presentation to approve the general operating fund budget amendment in the amount of $104,000 for capital improvement plan to reallocate from the Martin High School Building A roof repairs to Kristen Middle School wrought iron fence contingent on the approval to the capital improvement plan agenda item. Item 3E, BA 2122-34. This is to approve the general operating fund budget amendment in the amount of $5,010 as a result of transfers between functional expenditure categories from the Board of Trustees discretionary funds.
For the record, Mr. Garza has joined the meeting.
Welcome.
Yes, a
Please
question before we move on this one. Ms. Rocha, I saw that you gave us a note here for the items that are not included, so we would fix it at the regular board for this amount? Okay, thank you.
May I proceed?
Yes, please.
Item 3, thank you. BA number 2122-35. This is to approve the 2018 EDA Bond Series Fund 692 budget amendment in the amount of $20,250,000 to allocate funding for the construction cost of Dr. Joaquin G. Cigarroa Middle School. The next item reads as follows. Discussion and presentation to approve the recommendation or selection for the following bids, proposals or qualifications. Purchases shall be made from appropriations in the adopted amended budget. Mr. Mejia will be presenting these items.
Good evening, Board of Trustees. Dr. Rios. Hector Mejia for the record. Item 4A is renewal of RFP 20-002 for property and casualty insurance. Evaluation Committee recommends renewing McGriff, Siebels & Williams, and IBC Insurance of Laredo for an estimated amount of $1,360,985. Item 4B is renewal of RFP 21-009 for HVAC equipment, products, supplies, and accessories. Evaluation Committee recommends renewing the following 6 vendors: R&M Refrigeration Supply, USA Rimsa Equipment, Parts and Supplies, Baker Distribution, Johnstone Supply, Insco Distributing, and CAP for an estimated amount of $460,000.
Quick question, why is it almost double the amount that we used the year before?
We just left that estimated expenditures, Mr. Garcia, at the same
Yeah, but
amount that we
we've
took
talked
it last
about
year.
it, that let's be more accurate on our numbers and not exaggerate them, because when you do something like that, we can transfer it. There's that extra, go ahead.
Okay.
For 4B, we're using ESSER funds?
So this is gonna, I think we need to just identify where the funding is coming, where is that?
It's right here on the
The
bottom.
At the
purpose.
very last line,
Oh, yes.
funding is available.
Well, I think we had
Oh, and-
determined in the
but it's
past,
still,
we had determined in the past that, you know, it's better for us to get, let's say, the same numbers last year, and that we need to go for more than we bring it up for action.
Okay.
And I think that's what we had pretty much put it in order like that. That way
Okay.
we wouldn't have to go through this process right now of making it too large that, you know, it leaves the door open in there.
Okay, sir, we can bring that down.
Yeah. Well, I understand where you're putting more stuff into that you never did before because it was with our money, it's with Esther money, I understand that, but, yeah, I understand it, but still give us a warning that this is why we're doing that, we're extending it $100,000 because we're gonna be putting other stuff into it, so we have more of an idea where that
Background.
money is, right?
Okay, yes, sir.
Thanks. Next.
Item 4C, from CTPA Dallas ISD Contract RFP number JI-205650 for instructional materials, licenses, technical assistance, and staff development. The Evaluation Committee recommends empowering writers for an estimated amount of $70,640. Item 4D, from multiple cooperative contracts, HR software licenses. The Evaluation Committee recommends Power School Group and Yellow Folder for an estimated amount of $52,000. Item 4E, RFP 21-037 for automated heat seal packaging system. Evaluation Committee recommends Oliver Packaging for an estimated amount of $70,117.
This is this is a brand-new RFP, right?
Yes, this is specifically for two or three machines for the CMP department.
For the cafeteria.
Item 4F is RFP 21-042 for general repairs, maintenance services, remodeling, and special project contractors. Evaluation Committee recommends the following 6 vendors: American Contracting and Roofing, Trillium LLC, DBA Cobalt Construction, Landecker Construction of Texas, Midas Contractors, Quant Corp Construction, and Certuche Construction of Texas for an estimated amount of $750,000.
The question on this one, what remodeling projects does it include for this amount?
This is nothing specific, Mr. Gomez. This is for projects that are coming down the pipeline. So we can have an available pool of vendors. We can quickly reach out and get some quotes. That's what this RFP is for.
These are the smaller projects that haven't been discussed or haven't even come out yet, but we already have somebody that can actually get in to do that.
Yes, sir. So there's nothing specific, but you know,
Right.
there are, you know, there's projects that are just coming down the line.
Okay.
Next.
Item 4G, procurement method for fixed assets, Champion Center, the expansion of restrooms and training room improvements. Staff recommends approval of the request for competitive sealed proposal, RFCSP, as the method of procurement for this project.
This is the new software, right?
Software, no. This is they're expanding the training room at the fixed
This is the training
assets.
room, okay.
Yes.
I'm not sure if you went over it the first round before I got here, but are we going, you're giving us an ongoing balance on the ESSER fund, right, as we go?
Ms.
I noticed that it's,
Ms. Ayala.
yeah, so we just have a working balance with, for instance, everything that you're doing right here. There's a total amount, and then we're just breaking it down as we move, we're using it, right?
You do have a breakdown on all federal funds in your binder,
Yeah,
so
okay,
you can locate all the information in there.
where it's going and how it's going.
Yes.
But I wrote a little note to myself at the end I was gonna say, but I was talking to Ms. Ayala a little earlier, and I think that we need to have a workshop on with the board, not only in the ESSER account for 1, 2, 3, but the bond.
Refresher.
A lot of stuff that's coming up that we need to let everybody know where it's at, where it's headed, where we are gonna be at just a lot of stuff that needs to be discussed in a workshop.
I agree.
So,
Sure, and we can also get the financial advisor to come and present and explain
I
to you
think
the
it's
whole
gonna be important
process.
because the way this thing is headed, it's not in a bad way, but we just need to be all in, up
To
to
be
date with
aware,
it.
right.
Right,
Right.
be aware, exactly.
I'm in agreement with that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you about that at the end, but if now the answer is, I think we need to get where everybody can, we're not in a rush to do it, but we do need to have something on
Okay.
it. Go ahead.
We're on 4H.
Item 4H, yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Item 4H is for building and grounds maintenance, repair and operation supplies and equipment. The evaluation committee recommends the following 9 vendors from Omnia Contract R192006, Lowe's Home Center, Omnia Contract R192001, Fastenal Company, Omnia Contract number 16154-RFP HD Supply Facilities Maintenance. From the buy board contract 65721 and 64921, Home Depot USA, DBA Home Depot Pro. From the buy board contract 65721, IDNA Acme, and McCoy's Building Supply, Granger Fairway Supply. And from buy board contract 61120, Ewing Irrigation, for an estimated amount of $400,000. Item 4I, RFQ 2021-004, Professional Mechanical, Electrical, Plumbing, and Fire Protection Engineering Services. Evaluation Committee recommends the following 3 vendors: Aradias Fire Protection Consulting Group, and DBR Engineering Consultants, which represent the best value to the district. Item 4J, from Multiple Cooperative Contracts for Software and Licenses. Evaluation Committee recommends the following 12 vendors: Apple Inc., CDW-G, Computer Solutions, Dell Marketing, DLT Solutions, InfoPoint, Inside Public Sector, Instructure, NetSync Network Solutions, Proctorio, SHI Government Solutions, and Solid Border, for an estimated amount of $1.5 million. Item 4K, for communicator equipment monitoring service inspections and services, using the buy board co-op contract 65421. Evaluation Committee recommends MCS Integrated, for an estimated amount of $203,062. Item 4L is a revision of a previously awarded item for RFP 21-027. What we're doing here is just revising the estimated expenditures from $2.7 million to $3.25 million.
Why?
We're going to purchase additional purifiers,
Oh, okay,
and that is it.
yeah.
On item
5A,
number,
are you gonna recommend those tax refunds,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Rio?
item number 6, discussion and presentation on attendance and enrollment for the third 6 weeks for 21-22 academic school year. Mr. Castillo?
Sorry, good evening, board members. Here we have a presentation on the updates of the third 6 weeks attendance and enrollment for our district. The first slide, you have the enrollment update of what we started at 8/16 and where we're at in February the 1st. And you can see the increase has been substantial, but going in small groups as we continue on the school year. In the next slide, you will find the refined average daily attendance by 6 weeks for the first, second, and third 6 weeks in comparison for the last 3 weeks of where we're at. Right now, standing at 18,244.46. Again, this is what we use for ADA funding. Following, you will have the first 6 weeks attendance for the spring break as soon as we came back from our holidays. You can see we have those 4 days that we went in virtual and seeing that increase in the attendance, but then you have your first week and then your week after for the attendance on those particular days. As a district, we were at 78.81 during the first week, while increasing at 84.56. As of today, we have a 93.7 ADA.
As of today, it's what, Mr.
It's
Castillo?
93.7.
93%?
Yes,
93.7.
yeah. Today
Wow,
only.
that's,
It has been going up as an average, and students are showing up most, again, as the things have been coming down.
Just as
within-
a point of, I guess, worrying that our numbers are increasing on a daily basis. I
Correct.
just don't want to lose the fact that we had a downfall for the last 6-8 months, and what do we, what is the state going to do about that, and how are we going to get reimbursed for all those missing kids? I want you to just keep it in the forefront of your thinking and processes, and so that we can bring us something as soon as you hear anything from the state as to where we're going to get reimbursed or not.
Yes,
And-
definitely. Right
and at the
now,
forefront of our expenditures, because
Right.
that's going to affect.
Right.
yes,
I
it
kn-
will.
I know that Ms. Ayala and I have been talking about it. When we submit the waivers, we are being encouraged by TEA to wait till the end of the year so that you can pick the days with lowest attendance.
But
And
let's say they give you what? They're going to give you, the one that scares me is that they're only going to give us 50% of the lowest days that you have, or they're going to give us 100% reimbursement on.
when you do the waiver, I know that Mr. Castilla
Yeah.
can speak to that. So you submit it, and can you speak to the process,
Yes.
Mr. Castilla?
As of right now, the TA is not accepting any low attendance waivers
No.
for the reason that they're relooking or reevaluating the process that we have, because it's not an isolated event, it's the whole
Is
state
it
of
because of
Texas.
you, or is it because of the whole district?
No. It's more so that
What did you tell them? What did you tell them?
they have been seeing the decrease on the attendance.
Oh, okay.
So what they want to do is they want to give for the districts not to lose that attendance, the ADA, as for next year. So they're looking at different options to help out the districts as we go.
And I was just telling Mr. Garza, that's what the workshop needs to be about. It's just the reality on numbers and reality on budget, because our budget is based on our attendance. So we would need to let everybody know what the possibilities are, A scenario, B scenario, C scenario. So we're all updated and know why we're doing, why some of the recommendations are the recommendation that they are.
And at our last meeting at TASA, the commissioner did say that even though that low attendance waiver form that they had before, that's going to be upgraded, or there's going to be some decision made, because they know that it's across the state. So-
Correct. And here we have some of the actions TA has taken in helping out the districts. And one of them is that adjusting those operational minutes for the first 6 weeks. But now with the situation that we had emerge in January, that is right now in the process of being reanalyzed and coming up with new ways to look at that. Here's our average daily attendance as a district for the first 6 weeks all the way to the third 6 weeks when we ended it back in December 17. Here we have the district perfect attendance totals as we look at for the 20, 21, and 22 school years. Notice our numbers.
It's a huge drop.
It's been dropping, and again, it's reflective on the attendance averages that we've been seeing throughout this particular school year. Here we have a breakdown by elementary, middle, and high school, again, in comparisons. Here in the district cumulative perfect attendance totals, you notice that last year, since the remote process was a little bit more helpful in our students being logged on and so forth, we can see that number decreasing this year to 3,098 when it looks at the cumulative, but
If you
by
recall,
semester.
if you would log on up to 11:59 PM, correct?
Correct. Or turned in an assignment, so you
Or
could go
turned in an
back.
assignment, that was considered
Yeah.
attendance.
So here we have a breakdown again, perfect attendance by by elementary, middle, and high school. Here we have some of the duties that our attendance officers and scouts, and thank you so much to the board for approving us to add that extra help on our campuses to help our attendance in this process, and actually to get our students back to in-person learning. And these are just some of the duties that they do, and then as we encounter more situations as we go through the school year, the principal assigns them something else to help out at the campus, and knowing that we've had those incidents where our faculty has been struck as well and low on that, and still have our students in campus, they had to look at different avenues to
Should we
get
be
to it.
using our attendance scouts as lunch duty proctors or monitors? And, I mean, I realize that during this time when we had a lot of people out because they were sick, we were
Correct.
shorthanded on the campuses, and I understand that, but their primary job has to be to try to get students back into the classrooms.
Correct.
I don't know that using these folks, and I'm not saying never use them, I understand that there are extenuating circumstances, but
Correct.
are we monitoring at this level how many of them are being used to do lunch duty every day, or is it once in a while, or is it, you know, I have some concerns about that, because looking at our attendance numbers, we've got issues.
Yes, we do. And one of the things with the lunch duty, and mostly at the middle school and high school, that they need that assistance, because that's where we lose our students and they go different ways other than the classrooms. So the attendance officers are very aware of those students that have that chronic type of being not going to class. So they're easily identifiable in those places. Now at the elementaries, they've been using them to help out as needed when it comes to that lunch duty that they need for this particular time.
I just know that holding people accountable for their jobs when you're not giving them the
Yeah.
appropriate time to do their jobs is difficult.
Yes, and that's our priority, having them to ensure that our students are in the classroom and bringing them from home if we need to encourage them. Here are some,
Going back to the last one,
Yes,
you
sir.
have the duties and you have all that of a normal year. Where's the plan that, this is not a normal year?
correct.
What are we doing different? Because you can't follow what we do every year because we're not in that scenario. What are we doing at the district? We haven't seen that. What are we doing at the district right now because of the situation that we're in? That we haven't had. And Dr. Ramirez said, I've heard it from many. I see truant officers going to pick up tacos for the staff. I've heard that they do other things that they shouldn't be doing. They should be working nonstop on attendance, because at the end of the day, we're not getting the funding that we should be getting.
Correct.
And I know they're trying to do everything they can, but do we have a plan that we're following that for the district? It's not this one, because this one, if you're telling me this is what you're doing, now I understand why our attendance is the way it is.
Yeah.
Or we're doing something completely different because of the scenario or the situation that we're in, and it's written down and it's planned out. Or is everybody doing whatever they want in the district?
No, in this case, we do have those duties, and we are monitoring more in the sense of getting those students on the numbers of where they're at. So they actually help out in actually communicating or making those extra home visits, and especially at the elementary, since there was only 3 attendance officers before, now that we have 1 per campus. So they're specifically going and targeting those students that either parents don't want to bring them and so forth. So
But the problem, you look at their numbers, your problems are in the middle school, especially in the middle school.
Correct.
And the high school. What are we doing
Yeah.
aggressively there to bring our kids back?
yeah. We also added 1 extra attendance officer to help out with the 6th grade, 7th and 8th. Before, they only had 1 in the 7th and 8th grade. But to answer your question, we are being monitoring more so our attendance officers, that they're outside actually going, doing those home visits, going and finding out what is happening, and finding those kids and having more parent conferences and bringing them in. So it's a little bit more targeted to help out those students.
So, real quick, sorry. So, the board goes, you know what, can I see the report from the last 3 months of what they're doing? How many kids are they bringing in daily per truant officer, we have that. We have that.
Yes, sir.
Ricky Garza contacted 150 kids today, he brought in 50 kids, he did this, we have that in writing right now.
And you have a
Right now,
form.
we do have the RAWI system. That's where they document all that information. If you look at our next slide, we do have the interventions by particular campus or as a district. We can go ahead and break it down by campus to give you those numbers more specifically, especially our home visits and then especially our court cases. Right now, we do have seen a very high increase on court cases that we've been referring students to courts because of that truancy. So we do have those numbers for you.
So the RAWI system, in
Yes.
your opinion, have you been evaluating how the RAWI system is now being used and how effective it is? I think that that's probably one of the...
Yes, and
But that's doing, if I'm not mistaken, that's doing it automatically. What are we doing physically ourselves? That's just a press a button. That's not calling anything, that's not doing anything, that's just beep, boop, it goes out. And it shows you, oh, beautiful numbers. I have beautiful numbers because the machine's doing it. We're not doing it ourselves.
no, the campuses or the attendance officers do keep that documentation at the campus level. They do turn it into our coordinators in the attendance. So we actually monitor that particular documentation, and we do have that documentation present. So we make sure that whatever we import or we take into the RAWI system, there is documentation at the campus level, because again, that's where they will either follow up with the attendance by the counselors, by the attendance officer, if the court or the judge orders them to be monitored under 6 weeks or every week.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I think our people are doing an excellent job, but this
Yes,
is the
sir.
opportunity to say, you know what? Where do we have extra people that we can send over there to help them get more students back? Because the more people we get back, the better we are as a district. So it's
Yes.
not so to beat them up, but to say, hey, I need help, because I've also heard some people were overwhelmed. Well, you know what? We hired 5 billion reading teachers, I mean, they only have 10 kids. Can we pull here? Can we pull here?
Yes.
To help them bring these kids in, so now our teacher aides have something to actually do instead of,
Yeah,
get me?
instead
Yes,
of-
and-
I agree, instead of moving them to go do lunch duty, we
Yeah.
ought to be giving them the assistance to
Correct.
bring the
To
wardens
help
back
us bring
to
more
the
people.
campus.
Yes, and then, what we do is, as a district, we still have 5 positions that we haven't been able to fill when it comes to the scouts, and because we hire and then in a week they leave or they move somewhere else. So what we do is we actually get another scout or another attendance officer to go help that campus to
So we're,
assist as needed to
So we
be.
still have 5 open positions.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the total number of scouts? We were,
The total were 20, 4 for the middle schools and 16 for the elementaries,
so basically we're struggling,
to actually keep our attendance officers.
and that, we should know that, we should have known that a while back, so we can say, we can tell the superintendent, pull people from other places, because this is real critical to the district. In
Correct.
finding these kids and bringing them back to school, because the numbers will tell you, and that's why we're struggling with numbers, because they don't have the help, and it's not their fault, it's our fault.
Yeah.
We're setting them up for failure because we're not getting the people in there to help them.
Correct.
That's just my thoughts.
So at the very beginning of the school year, you do have a chart that says how many kids started at each campus, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and I know you gave us a chart one time that said, for the first 6 weeks, this is how many kids actually reported in August, and then how many, you know what I mean, like by campus, so that you can see.
By day, correct.
And then probably you would look at how many of those kids that are being brought in from 6 weeks to 6 weeks, how many of those were actually from home visits and intervention? Do you understand
Right,
what I'm saying?
but we're still missing, what, 3,000 students or 4,000
Yeah.
students?
Yeah, about 2,000.
We're missing 2,000 something, because we
Yes.
originally had 2,300, and right now we're at 20,000, so,
3,000, that's good.
yeah.
On the average, right now, I'm looking at and I'm more interested right now in the remote conferencing and I'm more interested in the remote conferencing right now.
Correct.
It's holding steady at about 1,400, 1,500 kids. So those are the kids you're gonna be taking away from these, but for that amount, the remoteness part of it, we have to have at least almost perfect attendance on these kids, right?
Yes, and usually we do, that's a very high attendance of the remote conferencing, but if we look at the remote conferencing, how we do it is they have to qualify for, and the max
Yeah,
is the
I
20
saw
days.
this,
Correct.
but I mean, so we're well documented that these kids are qualifying for that.
Yes, and that they will receive full ADA for them.
I have a feeling that's gonna come up later with the state, that they're gonna say out of all those kids that were out there, let me see the documentation.
Yes, sir.
And it better be perfect, because if not, we're not gonna reimburse you for.
Yes, and our attendance office, again, we're keeping documentation, and actually, the campuses submit that documentation for us on the remote conferencing, and we keep tabs on every single day
And you have
that
an
the child is
entrance
there.
date into the remote
We have the-
conferencing, and then there's the parameters for the exit, because they can't be
The
like the
exit.
way they were in the
Yeah.
past.
And one of the things is, the remote conferencing is basically for 20 days
Yes.
for
at
the
most.
whole school year. So we have to be very careful on those students, and we continue monitoring that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Do we move on to the next item?
Yes.
You finished already?
Did we mix you up?
The rest of it is your supporting documentation by campus, so you can look at it, and if you have any questions on that.
Let us know if we can do anything at the board to bring help to the people that are at the schools to try to get our kids back, because I know they're doing what they can, but I'm
Yeah.
sure everybody's short. And if you're telling me we're 5 or 6 employees short too,
Yeah, we are, thing is, we hire one, and then later on another one leaves, so it has been a struggle for us as well, but we have been able to provide that assistance and help at our campuses whenever they reach out, and especially our high schools, because we do want them to graduate. We want those students to
Yeah.
complete
We
for
do
this
too.
school year.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
May I proceed? Item number 7, discussion and presentation on discipline reports for the third 6 weeks for the for the 21-22 academic school year. Mr. Castillo?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Here we have our disciplinary actions for the third 6 weeks that we see. As of, for the third 6 weeks, we had 402 recorded items or recording incidents and we're comparing it to 2019-2020, where it's more or less like a regular school year. This is what we have, the action plan, a positive behavior intervention and support system that we have in our campuses. They actually have a process or a step process for discipline training for the campus behavior coordinators, presentations. We do use a lot of detention, lunch, and after school, and all to decrease that discretionary placements at FS LADA as needed. Here we have district-wide disciplinary incident report by codes for you to, that's the conduct, student code of conduct, that's the 328, and again, disruptions, classroom disruptions, and so forth, fighting. And then we have inappropriate broken down a little bit more detailed by item, so you will see those particular incidents as we move forward. Here you, in the next slide, you have a breakdown of what we have done for LADA mandatory placements and LADA discretionary placements, for a total of LADA discretionary 11, mandatory 40. For the reason why we are being very proactive and trying to lower our disciplinary placements and discretionary is because the state is monitoring those as we go throughout the school year. So we want to make sure we stay within the parameters as required by the state.
I'm curious to know on this one, on the bullying, we're at 0, correct?
Correct.
On the bullying, and it seems to me, and I don't know if my colleagues have received calls, but tends to be an issue of bullying here and there at certain campuses, and we're at 0, so are these incidents not being recorded, or I don't know what seems to be the issue, because I've been getting calls, and they have reported it, and we're at 0. I'm just curious to know.
I would say in this particular case, sir, it's because it's only the 6 weeks. Maybe if we look at the first 6 weeks, second 6 weeks, and do that collaborative, all all of them together, maybe we can have those incidents being recorded there.
Yeah, and I think this should be like a very important topic because I know that bullying is really serious, and especially nowadays with all this, time that we're
Correct, I agree with you.
alone at home or do the time off and not engaging with socializing with like the regular norm. And I don't know what is it that we can work on and team up to highly promote the anti-bullying for the school districts. Yeah. Yes, so because it could go wrong, and I was reading through some articles on research for shootings and stuff like that, and bullying is also one of the main issues. So I think this is a hot topic that we should team up and tackle it with time. Yeah. Just food for thought.
And here we have 3 as of for this particular 6 weeks, if we look at it in detail of the bullying process. A lot of it is more of, that type of where you get the 2 students with a counselor and create the contract, see if we can mediate within that process. So they do address those particular issues when it becomes more disciplinary, where we need to act on punitive things, then this is where that particular goes in there.
Okay.
I know one of the things that is being done at our district, our counselors are required to go to the classroom to actually talk to not only teachers, obviously, but to students about that kind of prevention and that kind of, I guess, addressing. So that is happening, and I know that the elementary, especially elementary, they do assign their counselors as to when to go into the classrooms, and they do have a schedule, correct, Mr. Castilla?
Correct. They do address the social emotional concept perspective of it, and they do go and do those particular presentations at the classroom level. Here you have the number of discipline incidents by campus and elementary as well. Any questions? Again, you have your supporting documentation, a little bit more detail by campus, if you want to go in depth for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I proceed, Mr. Arce? Item number 8, discussion and presentation on the investment report for the second quarter ending December 31st, 2021, as required by the Public Funds Investment Act. Ms. Ayala?
Thank you, Dr. Rios. So I would like to make a correction to this slide. The numbers are inverted. So the year-to-date interest earnings were recorded in the amount of $88,623, while the total interest earnings for the quarter were $75,763. If we compare the average quarterly yields, last quarter it was at 0.15%, and this quarter ended in December 31st was at 0.02%. Any questions? If not, back to you, Dr. Rios.
May I? Yeah. Item number 9, discussion and presentation of the monthly employee payroll dates for fiscal year 2022-23. If you recall, at the last meeting, we did pass the you approved the scholastic calendar, and I know that there was an announcement or notice that we were going to be able to provide to you a payroll calendar like the way we always do, with keeping in mind spring break, and there was another one, Thanksgiving and so on. So if you look at this, Ms. Ayala, you might want to explain a little bit more.
Yes, so this schedule represents the wish of the board on when we make the payment before spring break. So that we have it scheduled for, that will be in March the 10th. So it is before we go out for spring break. Spring break, I think, it's scheduled for the week of March 14th, 13th. So that was a concern the board always has, so we corrected that. The one for November It's up here.
It's November
It's scheduled
16th.
for November the 16th,
And December also, you moved it to
the 14th.
yeah.
Right, we do it before, we generally don't do it on a Fridays before we go out for holidays because we allow 2 days to do corrections. That's it.
Okay. Item number 10, discussion and presentation of the deductive change order number 1 from Quadcor Construction, RFC SP number 2020-007, roofing repairs at Martin High School. And this was for project number 1, Dr. Dennis D. Cantu Health Science Magnet in the amount of $25,000 for unused contingency allowances included in the original contract amount. And I know that Mr. Velasquez spoke a little bit about this. Mr. Velasquez?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Rios. You know, we discussed this in detail at the operations meeting, and it's basically just $25,000 that are coming back to the district. We didn't get to use any of the contingency that was allocated for the project, so it comes back to us.
Okay. Item number 11, if I may. Discussion and presentation of the deductive change order number 1 from Quadcor Construction LLC, RFC, SP 2020-007, roofing repairs at Martin High School. And this was for project number 2, the Colonel Roberto Flores Wellness Center in the amount of $38,000 for unused contingency allowances included in the original contract amount and project delivery delays. Mr. Velasquez?
That is correct. It's the same concept, $25,000 of an allowance that we didn't use at all during the project, plus $13,000 because of delays in the project that we're deducting from the total cost of the project that is coming back to LISD, to the district.
Hold on, a little bit more on that. So it wasn't due to, it wasn't the contractors holding the job back?
That is correct. There was like...
Is it in the form of liquidated damages or what?
Correct. There was a lot of delays in this project. Part of it was, you know, related to COVID and lack of labor. But in the end, I mean, it's the responsibility of the subcontractor, the roofing contractor. So we met with him, and you know, we kind of like discussed everything that they were saying and what we thought it was fair for LISD, and we ended up like deducting $13,000 out of their contract.
Then we should have some of this for the big projects as well.
Yes, I mean, when there's no extension submitted for the project, because remember, the general contractors or subcontractors, they have the opportunity to timely.
So it's under fault for not requesting an extension on this project.
Well, that was part of the thing that, you know, they never said we're like having issues with our labor or the delivery of materials. They were just insisting that they would finish on time, and that was not the case. And not only they didn't finish, but we had a lot of hiccups. There was situations of something almost catches on fire during the materials, the asphalt. There was like water getting into the gym. So there was a whole bunch of situations in addition to not finish the project on time.
Okay.
So you did charge, I mean, well, not that you, but
give 'em-
13,000 came back to
We
us.
give them every opportunity to correct it, right?
Yes.
In other
Yes.
words, yeah, we did.
We
Yeah,
provided
it's just
that
A lot
opportunity.
of times, a lot of them do not know how to communicate.
There was a lot of meetings. There was a lot of
Okay.
even campus administration participated in some of the meetings. You know, and that this is the outcome of that.
Very good,
You know.
very good. I'm
Okay.
comfortable with that now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mr. Garcia, may I move
Yeah,
on?
please.
Item number 12, discussion and presentation for the final completion and release of retainage in the amount of $11,399 to Quadcor Construction, RFC SP 2020-007 for roofing repairs at Martin High School for the project number 1, Dr. Dennis D. Cantu Health Sciences Magnet. So now this is paying them for the
This
last
is-
payment.
This is like in every project, we always retain a specific amount from every payment application. So at the end of the project, everything that is accumulated, it is paid back in full once the project is complete. So this amount is being is being released, and is the final payment to close the project.
Item number 13, Mayor?
Please.
Discussion and presentation for the final completion and the release of retainage in the amount of $17,288 to Quantcore Construction, RFC SP number 2020-007 roofing repairs at Martin High School for project number 2, the Colonel Roberto Flores Wellness Center. Mr. Velazquez?
Yes, it's the same situation, only for a different project. This is for the Flores building roof, and again, we're paying $17,288 final retainage and final payment to close the project.
And they're finished.
They are finished, we have the warranties in our hands, and we feel comfortable releasing the retainage.
How many years of warranty are on this one?
25 on
25
both,
years?
on both, yeah.
And that covers what exactly?
Well, it's a manufacturing warranty. It's basically like if we follow the proper maintenance, and there's no, let's say, ruptures because of us, because of technicians on the roof and things like that. Anything that happens to that roof for 25 years, it is covered by the manufacturing company.
So what if I'm curious to know if they assemble something wrong and it starts leaking, would
Yes,
that
I mean, everything it has warranty, all the seams, all the coping on the edges of the roof, like all the, where the pieces overlap and how they are attached to each other. So if we notice anything like that, the company that I believe in this case is Goodyear, is a company that is, manufacturing the product that was applied on the roof. They come and they bring somebody and they pay for whatever repairs are needed, because they send an inspector to make sure that everything complies with the type of construction that they require to.
at their cost?
I'm sorry?
Inspector at their cost?
The cost?
At their cost, and they send an inspector at their
Yes.
cost? Okay.
No, yeah, at their cost, yes.
So, thank you.
Mhm.
Next.
Item number 14, discussion and presentation on capital improvement plan funding that's going to be repurposed for school year 21-22. Mr. Velazquez?
Yes, we discussed this item also in operations meeting, and the situation is that we have $120,000 allocated to Martin High School. That was part of the CAP. So, in recent research for estimates for this particular roof, we found out that because of the prices skyrocketing in many areas, this amount is not enough to take care of Martin High School for the roofing. I have to note that we don't have any leaks at this point. We just want to be proactive and eventually replace the roof, but we don't have any water penetration or anything like that. But what we're proposing here is just to use $104,000 from this amount and move it to the Kristen Middle School fence, to continue the project that we started at Martin High School, wrought iron fence with the brick columns. Just like we did with Martin, we would continue with the Kristen side. And also we're moving $5,000 to kind of like infuse the project for the installation of an outdoor water fountain also at Martin High School.
Would this complete, assuming we approve this, would this complete the fence around Kristen Middle School?
It would be, completed up to Lion Decker Elementary and Santa Maria. Yeah.
On this one, I might be wrong. Wasn't it 60, around the 60s for the fence for Kristen?
There was some numbers, but I mean, so you can have an idea of the increases in prices, like when we review again, like when we got like new estimates, the prices are substantially higher.
Yeah,
now.
because
The steel is very,
I think it was around the 60s, if I'm not mistaken.
yes,
and
and
yours is
you're
like
right,
$50,000.
you're right, I believe it was 60-something, 70-something in that range, but the prices of steel are going up like, pretty high. So this is like the result of those increases and us trying to finish the project.
If possible, can we be provided with the previous estimate that was brought up at that price and the new one to see what
Sure.
is the difference on the increase of the steel. I'm just curious to know on that
Yes,
difference,
we
because
can-
it is a large amount for.
No, we can provide that, but I mean, pretty much, and I can tell you that even parts for AC and all of that, we're looking at 35-40% increase in everything, across the board, pretty much, like from wood to motors to compressors
Yeah,
to.
I understand. I'm just, I would like to see.
We'll bring you,
just to see.
we'll bring you
Yes.
the comparison.
Yeah, it's important, and I think in that meeting, we're actually gonna talk about that too, because, that's a big concern in construction and the projects that we have that are coming in at certain, and they're being increased by 40% because of the situation that we're in.
Right.
So either we throw them to further, 2 years from now or 3 years from now, or we need to look at that.
But we are recommending approval, for the next regular board meeting,
Next.
and that's it.
Item number 17, discussion, presentation, and update on the District of Innovation application to the Texas Education Agency. I know that Dr. Cruz is here, and he will be able to explain. We just want to be able to renew this initiative, and at CNI, we did speak to that point, and so, Dr. Cruz?
Yes, we're currently operating as a district of innovation. All public school districts who are under the DOI designation have their current plan up to 5 years. And what we plan to do is to take advantage of the current flexibilities that we have in place. These flexibilities are for the Texas Administrative Code and Texas Education Code. Two of them that we currently have in place are being able to start our school year prior to the fourth Monday in August, as well as waiving CTE certifications for CTE and dual enrollment, which we have been taking advantage of and which has allowed us to expand our course offerings for CTE. So this is the last step. Once it is board approved, we will operate as a district of innovation for 5 years.
And that is going to be brought to the board for
approval next
For approval,
week.
yes, so that we can submit it. May I proceed?
Next.
Thank you, Dr. Cruz.
Okay, item number 16, discussion and presentation on the college career and military readiness, career and technical education proposed innovative courses for 2022-23. We always have an opportunity to propose some courses and add to our repertoire.
Or curriculum, correct. Good evening, board members, Dr. Rios. So we do have 4 classes that we want to bring up for board approval next week. All 4 of them are tied to either an industry-based certification or dual enrollment certificate. The first class is sheet metal technology, which is for HVAC, our HVAC technology program. The next 2, introduction to dental science and dental anatomy and physiology, excuse me, are part of our dental assistant program, continuing ed through Laredo College. And the last one is the advanced legal skills and professions. So that one, we're trying to see if we can get a paralegal continuing ed certification for our students. It's a 126-hour program.
So we'd like to be able to recommend all of these. I know, Mr. Garcia, you talked about some of the attorneys that would be willing to help also, correct?
Not with this project, or the legal, yeah.
The legal.
Bus, yeah.
The sheet metal one?
The sheet metal one.
I said,
Yeah.
I can help you with the sheet
Paralegal
metal.
one, yeah.
Now, we do need partners in all of them. Remember that the next year is the 4th year of the program of study, which is the level 4 courses, which are work-based learning opportunities. Mr. Jackson's, Alan and Glenn were here, and we are working with them through the Commerce Bank and through other insurance companies for our CISR, which is our Certified Insurance Sales Representatives. We have 42 students in those classes. Next year, we're going to be providing internships for them through Commerce Bank. So we're looking always opportunities. Mr. Perez, we get some of those paralegals. That'd be awesome if you can, grant some internship
Interns.
opportunities. Yes.
I'm not gonna, I still think we need to bear down, and through no fault of your own or the school district, about how we're going about this. We're getting outside people involved and getting these things done. And as I mentioned before, it's affecting our students. And that we have a certain work ethic here at LISD Everybody, like I said before, we're going 110% on everything that we do. But the moment we bring in outside people to do it, and I'm not talking about for this particular project right here, I'm talking about LC alone and LC only, that they're not, I'm sorry, but they are just not living up to our standards. And I continue to say that, and we haven't done anything to fix it, but I'm still getting all these kids that have great GPAs going into those programs, only to find that they're getting, you know, railroaded into lower GPAs because they're getting treated as college students at the highest level when the college people are not working as college professors. So I think their ethic is wrong. I think that we should be very careful about bringing in in other words, we need to have a complete protocol and procedure as to how we're going to do this for everybody that comes in and does the work that they need to do here. Because it's not fair that these last 2-3 classes that just ended at the science academies, at the Nixon thing, and at the engineering program, that a lot of the people that were teaching those courses from LC were subpar, in my mind. And you don't have to even take it from me, but if you look at those programs and see how those kids fared throughout those classes, you're going to find that less than 10% of them had maintained their grade point average up because they were taking these courses. But again, through no fault of your own or LISD, I'm just completely disappointed. I'll continue to say it until we find a way to fix this, because I really don't think that their heart is in it. I really don't, man. At every school, Ciarroa, Martin, Nixon, I keep getting the same responses from parents and the kids, and they're just telling us that these guys are coming in and they're logging onto their computers and throwing out the assignment in there, and damn the torpedoes, you know, whatever happens, happens. So I think we're missing something, and there's a little gap in the action there that we haven't been able to fix. And I'm just not gonna stand here for the next couple of years and watch these kids get railroaded into that, because we're trying to teach them a lesson as to this is the way it is in college. Well, they're 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, man.
Then they shouldn't be taking the college course,
Well, I
Ricky.
know, but if they don't sign up for those classes, that's what I said. I'm not opposed to closing down the BIPs and any program that's coming around right there if we're gonna railroad those kids into failure. I mean,
I don't think it's setting them up.
we're the adults in the room.
Right.
And we're allowing this to happen. I mean, if you're a teacher and 75, 90% of your class is failing, is it the kids or is it you? You know, and so that's where I'm at. But, you know, the deal is that I try to act like a rational adult and trying to speak to these people, and they were irrational as hell. So either we figure out a way to get this thing done, and I'm not kidding you, if we pull an audit on every one of these programs, you're gonna see all those kids' grade point averages go down. Instead of helping them out, we're bringing them down through no fault of their own.
Correct.
So-
Dual enrollment does have a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of things that we're doing on our end to try and make that better. But even as we're speaking right now with the attendance officers that they're hiring, we have had 2 adjunct positions, especially at Nixon, English and government, that we haven't been able to fill. So that's another
Well, I
thing that we
mean,
need to build our
Like I
own.
told you, they have the people there that are helping out. It's again, if they can't fill out those deals at the LC level, you know, and they're not willing to, you know, lend a hand or be at least a bit malleable and be proactive with trying to solve some of these problems, then, you know, nos las pintaron muy bonito when they came into this boardroom, and all of a sudden it's just not my problem. You know, so either we're partners or we're not.
I would like to add to this. I think my opinion is that if the students are not coming through, then we should provide them with extra assistance, because I would hate to have students that are making, are good to go through these programs, and that affects them, and because of those that are not making it. If those that are not making it, giving them that extra push would help out a lot.
Correct, and that's some of the things we do. We do have the support every day. The college course is twice a week, the lectures twice a week. The other 3 days is lecture support from our instructors. Now, when students fail, we do also give them the opportunity to try and make up that class, even if their GPA is low. That's why in summer it's very important that we offer some of these classes that these students haven't done well in, to try and bring them in there. And I agree with you completely, Mr. Garza, because when I was in college, we always talked to each other, hey, don't take with that guy, take with this guy, yes, to el otro. And we're trying to eliminate that process. So every year we do evaluate the professors from LC and say, you know what, what's going on, this one is
Well,
is
I mean,
this and that, so.
as you and I discussed, they're taking orders from higher ups and it says, you're gonna teach that course whether you like it or not. And then when they go in there, they're just not, no office hours, no communication, and it's just not wide open. So that's another day of communication between you and I.
Correct.
But we need to fix it only because, not even because it's anything, but it's just a shame that I'd like it to work and be successful at this, but we can't do it if only one of us is working at it. You know what I'm saying?
I think at the end of the day, I personally think it's working. I'm sorry, whatever the situation was. I hear his concerns, but I think the programs are very good. I do think in one piece that we're painting ourselves. We're painting a picture very pretty at the schools, and we're forcing kids that hey, you need to get in this because that they're just trying, and that's wrong on our part. I don't think LT has a part to it, whatever.
Correct.
I do understand when there's a teacher, whether 90% or 85% of their students are failing, then that's a red flag that we as the school district say, wait a minute, if this is what you're gonna give us, then we need to circle the wagon.
Correct.
These programs are very good for our kids. I haven't heard one complaint, maybe one, two, but a lot of people really take advantage of this because it's a good opportunity. Lately, if you're trying to get into a school, it's, oh, you can come, but you have to take BIM, you have to this. And I think that's a cop-out on our part, because we're not selling the program, we're telling you, well, you want to be in here, this is what you need to do.
We need to pick up,
And
we
this
need to
is
pick up our numbers.
Yeah, just to pick up our numbers. That's wrong in so many levels that we're setting up our kids for failure now.
Correct.
Because
So-
they have to be really ready to take that plunge. And if they got into it, they know what they got into it. Now, if they fail in it, that's their fault. Because they could have very easily, I think it's a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, be able to pull out. So at the end of the day, if they signed up, you know what, put on your adult pants. That's what it is. That's real reality in school. Get used to it because it is what it is. So there's truth to it, because I do see a lot of kids, especially this year, was going like, what?
Yeah.
Why are you getting into that program? Well, they told me that's the best thing to do. I go, do you want to get into it? Not really, but that's the only way I could get that. So it's something we need to look at.
It's a double-edged sword.
Couple of questions.
Yeah.
So and if you don't have this readily available, I don't want to catch you off guard, Mr. Garcia, but what percentage of the college classes are taught by our own faculty, by our own teachers?
I would say close to 80% of them are actual adjuncts.
So they're,
Excluding Garcia, because Garcia, we
no,
can't
that's
use it.
separate.
Yeah.
That's a whole separate
Yeah,
ballgame, but
the
I'm
comprehensive
talking
high schools,
about the three comprehensive high schools.
Correct.
So if 80% of the courses are taught by our own teachers,
Correct.
I think that it would be unfair to paint everybody with the same brush. Next part of that is it true that the reason we're doing that is so that we don't have to pay as a district for tuition and fees?
That's not the sole reason.
But that's the benefit.
That's one of the benefits of having our own adjunct. We use our facility and our own instructor. It's tuition free.
That's
It's
correct.
completely
So
free.
the district isn't paying for the courses.
Correct.
All right. The quality of instruction, whether you're a full-time faculty, a high school teacher, a middle school teacher, an elementary teacher, the quality of instruction is totally dependent on the individual. We all know that. As educators, pedagogically speaking, you and I both know that some
Correct.
teachers are cut out to be elementary teachers and others are not. And that goes all the way through, just like you have doctors that shouldn't be doctors and lawyers that shouldn't be lawyers, but you have that in every profession.
Correct.
And I get that. The misconception about dual credit is that everybody should be doing dual credit. And that's not the case.
No, it's not.
Now, I understand that all parents want all their kids to do dual credit. And that's not the reality. Some students are not yet mature enough to take on the level of academic rigor that is required of a college level course.
Correct.
And if that's the case, then we need to be instructing the parents based on the coursework that they've already taken, based on their TSI scores, based on their GPAs, whether or not they should be really enrolling in those courses.
Correct.
That's our responsibility as educators.
Yes, and
I
it takes
would
all
tend
of
to-
us.
I would tend to agree with that, but let me be very, very clear, as clear as I can be. Our employees are not the problem. The LC employees are the problem. I've wasted, I would say, over 60 hours in this. And
Turn on your
talking to the
mic.
people that are
Turn on your
that are
mic.
there. I'm
Your
sorry.
mic.
Turn on your
Well,
mic.
my mic is on. And talking to the people that represent the kids at the campus level that are not allowed to, and you're talking about the teachers, at Nixon especially, and at Ciarroa especially, goes to the engineering magnet and over here. When the campus, the adjunct person from Nixon or Ciarroa is there and is readily available for those kids, that's the difference. That, to me, they still haven't lost the fact that they're high school teachers, and they're still walking into the classroom as high school teachers with the subheading of being an adjunct professor or teacher,
Correct.
right? So that is what does it. The processes of the LC people coming in here, and not even the people that are taking care of their classroom, I forgot what they're called, Jim. Not the,
Teachers of support?
Monitors.
The
yeah.
support teachers?
Yeah,
The
support
support
teachers.
teachers.
That they themselves, and I've spoken to over 10 of them already, everybody tells me the same thing. Hey, qué casualidad. Everybody tells me the same thing. They just don't allow to they're not allowed to speak. So that's what I'm telling you. As all of you have known me, every time I make a mistake, I'm the first one that says it's my mistake. I can't believe it when adults don't say it's my mistake. And every time I've brought it up to them, they say it's not our fault. We're not getting paid for this. You're not supposed to contact us. You're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to do that. So then you go to the supervisors above them, and they tell you, well, we give them academic freedom to do whatever. And so they hide under that. That's another subject for another time. But I'm just telling you about this. I'm so excited about the sheet metal technology. I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
The dental and physiology,
Dental
I'm not
assistant,
sure about
yeah.
the advanced legal. I think we have too many lawyers in this world already, that's good. But I'm just letting you know that it's not dead in my eyes yet. And I'm still waiting on the day that all three of us or all of us can get together and figure this problem out, because I know that they're not.
And we're still working on it, and it's the moving pieces, and there's a lot of little other loose ends that need to be tied up, because there's three different institutions here that all have their own regulations and guidelines.
At the end of the day, it is what it is. The legal one, talk to the organization themselves. That's who
Correct.
mentioned it to me, the
The
Lawyers
Bar
Association.
Association.
Yeah, they're interested in working with the program, with a program, and then you all brought it to us.
Correct.
So just let them know. I told, look, I don't know, say to talk to you all about that,
Yeah,
the possibilities.
yes.
I do want to
Next.
add that the communication piece to parents is going to be a more refined, more opportunities, and that's one of the things that Roger and I have spoken about, to be able to make sure that everybody's on the same page
I
as
think
we move
I
forward.
think, you might disagree with me, but I think the school district is on the right page. We're on the right path, we're on the same page. I think we do need to sit down with our partners, which is LC, and we do that with them. I mean, we need to sit down with them and say, look, this is our concern, this is the issues. We have to have a better communication with the institution, because we're not happy in certain situations. And that's it, and
Do
then
you-
go on.
Do you have a meeting with them the way we do at TAMU every quarter or at the end of
We
every?
actually meet every week with the dual enrollment program, but we do
Oh.
meet with, the higher ups. We meet twice a year, and we always bring, at the end of the semester, we evaluate and we bring our concerns, and we look at those areas where there's a concern with the professor. You know what I mean? Okay, like, this and that. We discuss FERPA, of course, and that's why the teacher of records are there, because they have access to the grades, so they're the ones who do the phone calls to parents, so on and so forth. So the support teachers is a big factor in this too.
Should we not consider doing like mid-semester grades? And if so, at mid-semester, have the meeting at mid-semester and not wait till the end of the semester, so that meeting takes place before?
We do, to be honest with you, as soon as the issue comes up, we call them up, and they're very good at meeting. We now that almost everything is virtual, we meet virtually. As soon as there's a concern raised, because we run grades every week. So every week we run the grades, the counselors get the grades, we get the grades, the coordinators get the grades, and as soon as we see more than 10% failures, we
Regroup.
approach, we
That's
regroup
good.
and we start calling the college.
I'll take back that remark about the legal system or the too many lawyers. I'm sorry, Sig.
You already get about 10.
I'm sorry, Sig.
Mr.
I
Garcia.
think
I'm
you would
just kidding.
agree. I think you would agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Mr.
Roger.
Garcia.
Roger, and I'm sorry, but it's every time I see you, it just reminds me of it. Sorry about that.
Mr. Garcia, we'd like to postpone or to not
No,
address
postpone
item
17,
17. Do have some communications?
Any announcements?
Yes. Martin High School athlete Melanie Duron will be named a Paul Harris Fellow by the Rotary Club tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. at Embassy Suites.
At what time?
At 7:30 a.m.
In the morning.
I hope the council, the board member to that district goes.
At Embassy Suites. Also, the LISD Police Department notified us that they will be hosting a books and badges reading event at Don Jose Gallego Elementary School at 8:30 a.m. It is National School Counseling Week, and LISD counselors will be honored with a drive-through celebration at FS Lara tomorrow from 10:30 to 12. The regular board meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, February 16th at 5:30 p.m. with a public hearing at 5:15, and that's because of the youth parade on Thursday. On Friday, February the 18th, will be designated as a staff development day for LISD employees. Of course, since it is a staff development day, LISD students are not expected to be there. Thank you.
Anything else? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.